Unicorns versus Vitality. Shot at the playoffs is hanging in the balance. Now for Unicorns, if they lose one game, it's not game over, but obviously they want to win out to make it into the top 6. Reminder, patch 8.4, we are not playing in the same patch that you guys are playing on live. So let's take a look at the bans. Camille, Caitlyn, Galio, Ryze, Xayah, Tristana, Azir is open, and something that Exileh has played a lot and shown proficiency with in recent weeks.
Very true, but we've seen a rise in priority for AD carries in particular. Now, what is on my eyes is how much value both these teams will put on something like the Ezreal, just because we've seen it in terms of AD priority kind of fall underneath champions like the Xayah, the Trist, and the Caitlyn. Even though many European teams really struggle to take advantage of his mid-game spike. I would imagine Vitality answer with a fairly safe Varus and look to lock themselves in a pretty strong top side of the map.
Okay, so let's see where they go in that time. Sion locked in, that flex pick. I'm only going to say flex pick because we've seen it mid so much this week in the LCK.
We have.
And we all know how pro players and teams like to look to the LCK for inspiration, Vedius.
It's very true.
If you were to look at Jiizuke and Vitality, would you think Sion is a Jiizuke champion?
I would not.
Okay.
I would actually think that this is much more of a Cabo champion, largely because he is a player, is a playmaker. He likes to get his own lane leads. And I feel like Sion is a champion that enables him to do that while still providing that front line and tankiness for his team. So I think it fits his style. We saw him play it last week. And I feel like for Vitality, they're looking to round things out with something like the Varus. For Unicorns, I would not mind them locking in something like a Sejuani right now. But with the jungle pool still very open, they're instead going to make sure they can guarantee WhiteKnight a safe top lane answer.
It's those top lane picks again. Sion appeared in 100% of our games last week. Cho'Gath in 7 out of 10 games. Just that like gigantic spike in play because of the patch, because of the meta and how it goes. And the Sejuani that you talked about is now stolen away. Gilius locks that in. So Kold is going to have to look another direction. His most played champion this split is Jarvan. It's still up and available. Zac is still there as well if they want to go that route.
And I feel like those will be the two primary bans, forcing Kold onto something he's probably not as comfortable on. Skarner, obviously, we have to remember, still a very prevalent pick, which means that he's likely going to be able to get his Jarvan or his Zac, which he will be fine with. But Unicorns, they can really pinch the AD carry pool, and I'm just throwing it out there, this could be another Ziggs AD carry lane for Team Vitality. Interesting.
What makes you lean towards that favor? That Varus you talked about earlier is now banned. Unicorns have one last option to remove from the pool.
Largely because of the very limited AD pool that they have left. They could go for the Ashe once more, unless Unicorns of Love look to ban it away. But you kind of look at what is left, and you sit there and think, Vitality are going to really struggle. So if you kind of want to mitigate the mid-game spike, why not just permanently push that Airs under tower and go for something hard and early, which is what Vitality are known for.
All right, if they go with that Ziggs, how does Vitality and Jiizuke round out their team composition? What mid lane pick would you like to see complement it?
Ooh, that's an excellent question, because I'm looking at... Ooh. I'm thinking about some of the mid laners that are available. Something like a Taliyah could be fairly safe.
What?
Okay, they're going to pivot.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Jinx locked in. Now, it's not the first time that we have seen Jinx this split, but it will be the first time that Minitroupax is playing it.
Okay.
And that's a surprise to me.
So, Jinx did have a couple of changes not too long ago. Some pros were dabbling in the idea of her return, but one of her biggest weaknesses is her laning phase, largely because she's so auto-attack based. She doesn't put out a huge amount of trading power, but against a champion like an Ezreal, it can be seen to have a bit of power and can get through what is typically a rough laning phase.
Yeah, no surprises to see the Jarvan for Kold, his most played champion. This will be his 5th game on stage, and I will have you know he is undefeated this split on the champion with a scoreline of 6 kills, 9 deaths, and a whopping 52 assists across 4 games. Braum closes out the team composition for UOL. I'm seeing a fairly well-rounded comp, fairly, you know, like growth of power spike. Ezreal will get you through the mid game. Cho and Azir will get you through the late game. I quite like this composition.
Oh, yes!
Whoa.
Now this is a Jiizuke champion. Ekko in the middle lane. We've seen this from Faker over in the LCK. He's brought it out into champions like the Azir. I love this champion. We can talk more about the intricacies of the matchup once we get into game, but what you're looking at is a roaming assassin in the middle lane. The playmaking potential, the split pushing power that Jiizuke does have is very much the playstyle that Vitality would love to take advantage of.
And you know what? For a team that is 1-5 in their last 6 games, that has to prove to everybody watching they belong with the big dogs. They belong at the top of the table. Vitality have to return to that form from the beginning of the split, from the beginning of the year. And maybe this is how they do it. Jinx, AD carry, and Ekko in the mid lane, going up against what feels like a very meta, very 8.4 team composition from Unicorns of Love.
Yeah, because you look at the Baron taking power and it's all in the UOL playhouse. They have the Cho'Gath, they have the Azir, both exceptionally fast, and that extra smite that you have in the top lane. If they're able to set up around this objective, Vitality are going to be scared. But Vitality, they have an effective 1-3-1. Ekko will not really be matched in the side lane by any of the champions drafted by the Unicorns of Love. So even if this gets to late game, Vitality do have options and answers to answer this UOL comp.
Oh man, super exciting setup. We're starting week 8 of the EU LCS, and there are still playoff spots for grabs for teams as low as 9th and 10th on the standings. Unicorns find themselves as one of those teams. The Love Hurts crew are here, as they are every week, cheering on this late split resurgence. But how much magic do Unicorns have left? How many times can they continue to impress? Because they've got such a difficult road ahead. And it's going to start with this game. Let's talk laning. Vedius, obviously Ekko into Azir. Ekko's going to scale up into this matchup. Needs some levels and items, right?
So you say that, but not really.
Ooh.
Because Ekko can actually afford to be extremely aggressive early on. Once he hits level 2 specifically. Now, the thing about Ekko is you want to take note of his passive, because the 3 hits that you get with his passive give him a huge extra chunk of damage, but more specifically, the movement speed that you gain means that it can be rather challenging for your opposition to trade back with you. So you jump in, you quickly get the 3 hits in with the Q, which can apply 2 stacks, and the E, and then you quickly dash back out again for a favorable trade. Now, the reason why he can afford to do that a lot in the early games is because he's also running the teleport. I imagine that he's going to go for a bit of sustain. We can see that he's decided to go for the Dark Seal into the Rejuve pot rather than something like the Corrupting Potion. What I imagine he's going to look to be rather aggressive in the early lane, try and get a bit of early push-off against the Azir, TP back, get an early item, and then once he's got an item advantage over his opposition, continue on with the pressure.
And of course, all of that can happen as long as junglers don't interfere.
Very true.
So my eyes will be on Kold and whether or not this early ganking Jarvan could set something up, and whether or not Gilius will be getting involved. This mid lane matchup could be so crucial and so pivotal as the game plays out. Looking at early starts here, both junglers starting on their respective red buffs, and nobody's going for any sort of cheeky shenanigans just yet. And if I look at the minimap, Minitroupax and Jacktroll, they're currently pushing into Samux and Totoro. Obviously using that switcheroo and that Jinx rocket to use the AoE and push that wave in.
And that's one of the things about Jinx, is that, as we mentioned, during the laning phase, she's typically fairly weak because all of her damage comes from her basic attacks. The chompers can be easily dodged, especially by a champion like Ezreal, and the W is so slow that you often don't rely on it as a trading tool during the laning phase. So you kind of have to build up the stacks initially on the minigun, and then you use the rockets for the extra bit of damage. But against Ezreal, if you stand behind minions, you can often mitigate a lot of his trading power, and a champion like Braum can't necessarily follow up on that level of harassment. So the simple laning wave clear is in the advantage of Vitality's bot lane, which is giving them this pushing power and forcing Samux and Totoro to back up.
Well, very nicely done then for Minitroupax and Jacktroll. We'll see what sort of pressure it can garner. Kold with an early invade, just stealing away these Krugs, had some support from WhiteKnight as well, instantly peeling down and takes a couple of shots from Cabochards.
Also want to note that we've been seeing more recently a shift on a lot of, specifically Exile's Azir. We've seen a lot of Comet in the past, where typically you just kind of go for that additional poke, but by going for lethal tempo, you get that bonus attack speed, which later into the game offers a huge amount of value and extra damage per second. And it's just a slight shift that Exile specifically has taken, and we've seen it slowly adopted elsewhere around the world too, to just give you a little bit more late game value out of that route.
Do you like it? What option do you prefer? personally?
So from my experience, I like Comet for the laning power, but I think it makes more sense when you're going towards, like, playing towards Baron, because it gives you that additional bit of attack speed that that really facilitates the extra damage per sec.
Okay, that makes sense. It's preference, right?
Yeah, it's a preference thing.
Exactly as predicted there, Vedius. Jiizuke shoved the wave in, got a couple of CS under his belt, has already backed, picked up a control ward, used that teleport and the Doran's ring, and is already jumping onto Exileh with that phase dive. Now, obviously, the small CS discrepancy will be balanced out as Exileh can farm under the tower fairly safely. And we've gone past that 3.5, 4-minute phase where you could see some early ganks. I want to know which lane is the most gankable.
Ooh. It's
so tough.
I would say that if you're unicorns, ganking top would not actually be a terrible idea. Largely because when you have a Cho'Gath in lane, he offers a huge amount of utility, and Jarvan early on, especially going with the electrocute, has a lot of damage. So you have kill threat towards the top side of the map, and it's a strategy that UOL did last week just to get WhiteKnight ahead during the laning phase to mitigate some of the pushing and snowballing power that a Sion does have. For Vitality, bot lane is actually an option for them to gank, and originally I didn't think you could gank a Tahm Kench lane, but after I saw the creativity that Totoro brought out with the Tahm Kench, you actually just move behind the tower, you ulti, and you just then flank behind your opposition with the jungler in tow, and you set up for an easy gank opportunity. And when you have the level of utility that a Sejuani has, I could see bot lane being an avenue for Vitality to try and play.
We actually watched that exact play with Kold jumping into Totoro earlier, and this time around, I'm just imagining some of the combinations. You can deliver Gilius, you could potentially have a TP coming down from Jiizuke, maybe even Cabochard, and then it's good luck Totoro and Samux. One arcane shift's not going to put enough distance between anybody. But no shenanigans yet. I'm looking at the minion dematerializers. 6 stacks for Cabochard in the top lane, 4 stacks for Jacktroll in the bottom lane, and Exileh does a very good job there of sliding to his sand soldiers and dodging a lot of the damage from Jiizuke winning that trade.
So, to talk about your first point,
well, I think you're going to have to hold that thought. Emperor's Divide from Exileh! Man, that's so nicely played, forcing out the chrono break from Jiizuke.
Okay, so a lot of cool intricacies going on right now in the 1v1. The thing about Jiizuke is if he can't get that third hit proc, he doesn't get the bonus movement speed, which makes it very easy for Exileh to just send his sand soldiers after the small time boy, and you get a lot of favorable trades going in your favor. So Exileh very aware of what he needs to avoid, and he's successfully dodging out that harassment from Jiizuke. And in this instance, expecting Jiizuke to be on the aggression once again, because that's kind of what you need to be doing in this matchup. He then looks to punish him with the ulti, and it ends up being a trade of ultis. So this will relieve more of the pressure from Exileh, because Jiizuke now doesn't have that additional safety tool.
Knowing how important Exileh is for the Unicorns of Love, this can only be a good thing for UOL. Exileh winning the laning phase. There's a sentence I did not think I was going to say.
So far.
Touche. 7 minutes in, he's up 12 CS. He's handled the pressure that Jiizuke's put on despite repeated attempts. But what's important is what happens next, right? How you convert that lead, how you work with the rest of the team.
And it only gets harder to survive for Exileh, because as an assassin, that is what Ekko innately is, and he's going to look to do a huge amount of burst damage in a short amount of time. And when you look at Azir, who is fairly mobile, Jiizuke is going to constantly look for opportunities to just chip him down. And the more items he has, the more burst he's going to get. And when Exileh's only running the cleanse, that's something he just has to be very cognizant of as the game progresses.
I mean, Exileh seems to be very, very comfortable in this matchup. He's dodged a lot of skill shots. And obviously, it's why he's in the lead. Kold has now popped up to clear out some wards. And looking down the CS numbers, Minitroupax plus 10. He's doing well in that laning phase, using the early advantage that we've talked about. And no surprise, the wet noodle fight in the top lane. Emperor's Divide, used defensively here from Exileh. Follow the Ghost, follow the Chrono Break clone. There's a sentence and a half. Because, of course, any time UOL are chasing Jiizuke, he can just dash backwards.
Sion is looking for a flank.
What can he find? Jiizuke forced to use the ult defensively. First blood available for Vitality and secured by Gilius. A flawless flank by Vitality.
Nice roam there from Cabo. We saw him moving through the river where UOL have absolutely zero vision. They were able to set up a gank in the middle lane because Vitality were constantly playing on the forward edge. Jiizuke was looking for fights non-stop against Exileh, so it was only a matter of time before Kold looked to try and punish that gank, and Vitality was setting it, waiting for it. They see Kold come in, Jiizuke uses his ult to get back out, and then immediately they're able to get the shutdown kill. But we don't care about the kill, we gotta watch farming. Minitroupax getting those last hits. That's really the takeaway that we need to get from that replay.
It is indeed, because of course Minitroupax on patch 8.4 is one of the damage dealers for the squad, right?
He is.
If you look at the changes in the patch from last weekend, obviously a prevalence of Sion on the top lane, a prevalence of tanks in this banner of command, the damage share across the teams have changed. You can see top dropped from 23% to 15%, and AD carry picked up a lot of the slack. That's what Minitroupax and Samux will have to do this game if the trend stays true.
And for me, why this is so interesting is because Vitality as a team have often so relied on their mid to deal a lot of the damage, and Troupax has just kind of been there. He's not been one of the main carries for Vitality for a lot of the split, and Cabo has also primarily played a lot of carries rather than tanks. So now his shift has to change. His focus on how to play the meta has to pivot, and that concerns me for Vitality. Whereas you look at UOL, Samux has been one of the biggest carries for this roster for the last few weeks, and is why they've been able to get so many of their kills. And WhiteKnight, he's more than happy to play the role of a tank.
And of course, Samux last year had some phenomenal performances, one of the main carries for the squad. Another great Emperor's Divide from Exileh, Parallel Convergence will time out. Another trade of ultimates. Jiizuke forced to back away with Chrono Break. While that is going on, a Dragon setup is being attempted, but neither team has an advantage yet. It's an even gold game. The CS advantages for WhiteKnight in the top lane and Exileh in the mid lane means they're staying close to Vitality, despite Gilius getting that first blood with the help of Cabo.
I'm looking at teleports, I'm looking at this WhiteKnight roam right now. Remember, Jiizuke has no ulti, does have the flash, but a good silence can really mitigate his escapes.
Well, Feral Scream, and Jiizuke just steps forward. Very easy escape, but you can just feel the tension. These teams want to fight. Glacial Fissure comes down, flash forward from Gilius, defensive from Totoro. He gets stunned up by the passive of Sej, and now Jacktroll's running for his life. An arcane shift forward from Samux, Kold waiting in the wings, not going to go for the flag and drag flash. Samux True Shot Barrage is on cooldown, and Unicorns of Love, despite a turnaround, do not get the kill.
Now, Gilius, interestingly enough, decided to flash onto Totoro, but a good ulti there from Totoro was enough of a disengage to allow Samux to get a lot of poke damage down and then force Jacktroll back. With no pressure from the bot lane of Vitality, Unicorns had an opportunity to go for the Drake, especially with Jiizuke just backing now, but instead they didn't want to take the risk. They recognized their comp isn't the strongest at this point in the game, and for now they're more than happy to just keep scaling up until they hit that Ezreal power spike, until Exileh completes that Nash's Tooth, and they as a team are more prepared to fight.
Let's turn our attention to Kold a little bit. We spent a lot of our pregame talking about him, a lot of our pregame talking about how he helped Exileh for a little while. Last week he ganked top and bottom. This game, he's not really ganked a lot. He's shown up mid a few times, right? But 12 minutes in, this Jarvan not making an impact yet.
Yeah, we realized that, or we recognized rather that, oh, good ulti.
Another great play from Exileh, another Chrono Break. This just feels like a rock, paper, scissors thing.
Yes, it very much is.
And you just keep seeing the trade. But of course, because Kold was top lane, Super Mega Death Rocket! Not going to kill Exileh.
Good aim there, though, from Minitroupax. Almost gets the kill. Will definitely force him back. You can even see Jiizuke running through the jungle, seeing if he can find himself a bit of a pick. But to go back to your question, the reason why we haven't seen much pressure from Kold during the laning phase is because he doesn't need to gank. He just needs to mitigate the pressure from Vitality. Ekko, Jinx, Sion, all laners that love to try and get early leads and advantages. And Kold's responsibility is, okay, I've got to mitigate these advantages as much as possible. WhiteKnight's doing pretty well up in the top lane in the 1v1. Exileh is holding his own. He even had a CS advantage, which is now, unfortunately for him, dropped a little bit. And Samux is not too far behind. So for Kold, his early game is going the way he wants, perhaps aside from the fact that he died.
Yes, and it hasn't really mattered though, right? Gold is still even, CS is still even. We are going into a mid-game with two very exciting compositions, and Unicorns are not afraid to pick fights.
No.
When we were preparing for this week's match, Vedius, we were sharing some notes and looking back and forth, and I distinctly remember you saying something like, Unicorns, they got some cojones on them. They are
got
willing,
balls, Trevor.
they
They
are
got
willing
balls.
to pick some brave fights.
They are. And what fascinated me was last week, no one had any ultimates at all. A fight had just happened. Both teams returned to the Dragon area, or at least Schalke were like pushing up a wave, and then UOL were like, meh, we don't need ultimates, we're just going to fight anyway. And they just engage. And you're like, why are you doing this? This doesn't make any sense. There's no teleports. And they still make it happen, and they still win the fight. And it's just, they're not afraid that if they see an opportunity where they think they can win, they will just take it anyway. And it's that mindset of, it doesn't matter if it's a 50-50 or a 60-40, we think we can pull it off, we think that if we execute well, it'll work out, and they go for it. And that is so different from some of the other teams, like when you think about Schalke, or you think about even G2, if they don't have the perfect play, they won't do it. That's why you're guaranteed an exciting game when you watch the Unicorns of Love.
And we need to see what this mid game will look like. Because now Jiizuke is in a little bit of trouble. He's going to phase dive away from the Emperor's Divide. Totoro's joined the fight. Jacktroll cancels the Abyssal Voyage as Gilius jumps in from the side. Now everybody's coming to the party. Unicorns taste their first kill, but will be unable to secure it. Totoro gets killed from the area damage. Now Unicorns in full retreat. WhiteKnight flashes over the wall as Cabochard chases down Kold. Minitroupax is excited, and Jacktroll licks him to death. 2 more for Vitality.
Vitality find a successful fight, and now they're looking for a tower as well. This is the early game that Vitality wanted and their fans were expecting. Unicorns struggling under the pressure.
They are cracking at 15 minutes to fall 2,000 gold behind. There's a couple of kills in Tower First Blood, and it all started from this invade.
Now, Exileh has no mana, but the collapse is first from the Unicorns. The fact that the Tahm Kench ulti gets cancelled, you actually think this is a great fight for the Unicorns of Love. The issue arises when Jiizuke gets out, Minitroupax comes in, and again, Exileh still no mana. The Braum is the first to drop, and Samux cannot contribute to the fight whatsoever. So Vitality were in the better position to get the favorable fight. They were able to secure the kills, and now they've gained so much more control over the map after they've taken down that tier 1 in the mid.
Man, is this where the magic runs out? Is this where the miracle run falls short? Because we were talking about Unicorns and whether or not they can make playoffs. The hype video, Unicorns have made every playoffs of every split they've been in. Sheepy, we talked to him a little bit in the week, and Vedius, you got some quotes from him talking about the mindset and the pressure the squad has to play under. And right now they have to contend with this rookie squad, you know, this former Giants roster, Vitality that came onto the scene, surprised everybody, now they're in the lead. And it's even more difficult for Unicorns from here on out with this deficit they find.
Now, they're not concerned that much because you're looking at this Ezreal and you're like, okay, he's going to hit Dream Force fairly soon. That's a pretty strong point in the game for the AD carry. Azir, yet to complete the Nash's Tooth, but almost there. So it's not like that they don't have the opportunity to scale and rely on that aspect. And remember, we talked about Baron being a big point of contention for them with the Cho'Gath and the Azir as well. It's something that they can still look to play through even though they're at a deficit.
Of course they can, because it's against Vitality. And it's Vitality's Baron. There's always hope against Vitality. If Baron is an objective,
that
has to unlock the game. One tiny little update. The last time Unicorns were this far behind at 15 minutes was in their very last loss 6 games ago. So significantly better early games from there on out. Vitality after First Blood, First Tower Blood, First Dragon. They get Rift Herald as well. So far, they are shutting Unicorns out as we get closer to 20 minutes.
So now Gilius looking for a gank. He's been involved in one fight. Will he go for the tower or go for the kill? Nope, he's like, that dude's got a banner of command. We can't fight that. Oh, but we can with a bit of help.
They're gonna try. Jacktroll has come in, 4-man party in the bottom lane. Rooted up, that's gonna be a kill onto WhiteKnight. Minitroupax is the recipient down in the bottom lane. Jiizuke takes one with him before going down, and the tower's not under threat yet. So advantage Vitality for now.
Best case scenario there for Vitality. They get themselves a kill, they get themselves a tower, and the lone man mid laner, Jiizuke, the rookie, is able to hold off 1 versus 4, gets himself a kill, and prevents Unicorns from securing themselves a tower.
That's pretty good, if you ask me.
That is damn good. This is why so many people look at this mid laner and say, for sure, he is the rookie of the split. And there is much debate. There are many questions surrounding these kind of players. But Jiizuke, when you need him to step up, when you put him in a position to carry, he's always able to do it. Now, he uses the W to get himself a shield, where he even is able to stun a few people. He buys enough time to delay the ulti as much as possible, and then he uses that with the bonus damage by going AP to secure at least one kill. Look at the happiness on his face.
Oh man, that is so cool. Jiizuke back in form. Had a couple of struggling games. Very important to note that the second dragon's being secured. It's an Infernal. For the Ekko and Jinx, that's going to be exceptionally good. Gilius smites that one away. And we've got ourselves a bit of a spicy game on our hands because the next one's an Infernal as well. Oof. Which is a great
Actually, I think it's a Cloud.
Was it Cloud? Oh, there we go. Right, so I jumped the gun a little bit.
So we will be fanning the flames if Vitality can secure it, but UOL will look to try and deny that because remember, we are on 8.4. And that means that Baron and Elder Dragon did receive those buffs. The first Elder Dragon obviously not as strong as the second Elder Dragon, but we can talk a little bit more about that if it comes down to it. For now, Vitality holding on to a very healthy gold lead, maintain control over the vast majority of the map, but not really pushing their vision that deep into the UOL half of the jungle. I imagine their eyes will be set towards this bot tower, but with Baron spawning soon and the looming threat of a Cho'Gath, Vitality do not want to give UOL that much control around the objective.
Okay, step a little bit out of the game. It's 20 minutes. Vitality have got a nearly 4,000 gold lead, and they've had leads in the past. They've had difficulties in the mid game. What do you want to see from Vitality? You talked about the bottom tower, you talked about the Baron, but specifically from a coordination, from a communication point, where we've seen some of those mistakes, where we've seen it come apart at the seams. You know, like the loss to Fnatic last week is a good example of that. What do they need to fix from last week to this week, or even, you know,
So, in order to explain this, I need to go back a little bit and talk about why they lost to Fnatic. And you look at a lot of their fights, and it was very questionable in terms of the decision-making that Vitality actually made. Why were they taking some of the fights that they took? What were they hoping to gain from some of the fights that they were trying to set up for? And what I'd love to see this time is their fights actually make sense. They look to engage onto Unicorns when they're in a good position to do so, and when it will net them something substantial rather than blindly going in for a trade and hoping for the best.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And we'll need a few more minutes before we can evaluate that decision, and I will be asking you to throw your input on there. I'm just looking at the items. 2 item spikes coming in, mostly on the Vitality side. Obviously with that gold lead and advantage. Hurricane plus Eye-Edge for Minitroupax, and Jiizuke got himself that Sheen and Proto belt, sitting on a fair chunk of change. So definitely going to use that power advantage as we get to these next few fights.
And you're talking about the items. I'd love it if our observers could quickly switch over to the gold, just so that we can see that Samux should in theory be a little bit even, but even with the Kleptomancy, he's still very far behind because of the 2 kills that Troupax did pick up, along with the extra towers that Vitality have secured over the map. So Klepto, only enough to keep him on the 2 item spike, but still a very big deficit behind the enemy AD carry, and Jinx will outscale this Ezreal. He is strong once he's gotten himself the Trinity Force, but I don't know if it'll be enough in the next few fights.
Well, very nice flag and drag flash there from Kold. Keep following the Ghost for the Chrono Break. No squishy targets yet. Jiizuke's running for the phase dive and just gets run down by 4 members of Unicorns. Samux picks up the kill. That'll close that goal difference.
Good punish there from the Unicorns of Love. Surprised that Jiizuke wasn't able to spot that out with the amount of vision that Vitality have invested. He's now going to be dead for about 27 seconds, but he does have the teleport available.
Rookie player, rookie team, rookie mistake with that sort of a lead. And it's little things like that we see every now and again seeps into the gameplay. And that's kind of where Vitality have shown openings.
But I also think it's great from UOL to try and punish Jiizuke, simply because we talked about how Ekko in a side lane can't really be matched by anyone on this Unicorns of Love roster, especially once he's completed that Lichbane. So by shutting him down now and putting him slightly behind, it gives them more time to get more gold, more items, and then basically force Jiizuke to group up around the Baron, which is very much what UOL are relying on towards the next few fights. So again, look at the mini-map. You can see there are actually no wards in the river at all.
Yeah.
And you can put that down to the team, or you can sit there and say, Jiizuke, you shouldn't be pushed that far up. If you don't have that kind of vision, regardless, it was a mistake from Jiizuke, and UOL did a good job of punishing.
So important that the 2 kills Unicorns have picked up are on their 2 carries. Exileh and Samux. True shot barrage. That's just going to be to interrupt Jiizuke. Put him on tilt. Hit him where it hurts. because that's all that ultimate was. Sending a message.
Exactly that.
But Unicorns, they still want to, you know, stall this game out. Liandry's Torment was just picked up for Exileh, as Totoro was threatened by Gilius, but really nothing to happen. And by the way, while that Liandry's was picked up, Lichbane completed for Jiizuke, Gilius completes his Warmogs. Is there an item spike that either team could pick up where you say, okay, now we're good to fight? Or is this really just about these objectives and vision before anything else?
When Troupax finishes his next item, which I would imagine... Ooh, and Jiizuke actually looking for a fight now.
While Jiizuke gets caught by the Emperor's Divide, the rock, paper, scissors is countered by Chrono Break. And it just looks like the laning phase with a few extra guys waving for supports.
The third item on Jinx would be my go-to item for Vitality to try and force something. UOL, they should actually try and force a 5v5 right now, because you're seeing how difficult it is for Jiizuke to actually get involved in the chaos that is a 5 versus 5 unless he can find an optimal flank.
Both top laners have teleport available down in the bottom lane. They're trading in terms of minions and damage. And I'm looking at the cooldowns that were used. On the side of Unicorns, obviously Emperor's Divide and that Glacial Fissure. Two very, very impactful spells in the team fights. But it is crazy to see the tension in this game. Unicorns, they don't want to lose. They don't want to lose. They don't want their win streak to end.
Now, Trev, I'm going to derail a little bit,
okay,
but focusing in-game.
Right.
Because the difference between a confident Ekko player and a responsible Ekko player is the next item that he purchases. Now, a responsible Ekko player would get himself the Zhonya's, because you're diving into the thick of things, you need that extra bit of security, it helps buy time for your Ghost to catch up so that you can use the ulti damage in a big 5v5. However, how would I say, a confident Ekko player.
Brave Ekko player.
Some Americans would perhaps say Chad Ekko player. Who knows? Regardless, one would go for something like a Void Staff, maybe even a Death Cap, or one of the new items, the Spellbinder. But that's very dependent on how confident Jiizuke is feeling and how much he's looking to be an assassin in this game.
I want you to predict, knowing Jiizuke, thinking about him as a player, the Italian Stallion. Well, I'll give you a moment to think about that. Once again, Emperor's Divide, this time used to send Jiizuke packing. Kold is caught out, and this will channel the teleport. It will be completed from Cabochard. The chase continues as Kold will put down the Cataclysm. Teleport completes for WhiteKnight. The fight in the jungle. Defensive flashes from the Unicorns of Love as Vitality get excited. Minitroupax is rampaging forward. Kold to use the flag and drag backwards. A flash forward to Minitroupax. He misses two. The tower's enlisted to help the Unicorns of Love, and that shield will not be broken, and it will be taken down. Vitality get themselves 2 kills.
Jiizuke!
Not done yet! There's your answer! Confidence from Jiizuke!
Vitality get themselves 3 kills onto the Unicorns of Love. They have the Baron in their eyes, and this is the best setup to prevent Gilius from getting outsmitten.
Well, the best way to guarantee the smite is to make sure there is no contest whatsoever. Vitality with a fantastic team fight.
Now, the key thing here is that UOL back up into a choke point, which is perfect for the Jinx. Watch Minitroupax and what he's able to do in this team fight. He is completely safe on the back line. Jiizuke is just poking in and out, utilizing his ultimate to reset his health. And then when UOL think they can go for the re-engage, oh no. Look at how the Jinx just rips through this front line. A big ultimate, multi-AoE damage, everyone is chunked low, and UOL are just constantly on the retreat. Samux cannot have the same level of impact that the Jinx can, and the moment they try to get a little bit back, Vitality just takes so much more.
Man, Jiizuke, did that phase dive follow him over the wall? No, it was a flash, all right.
It did though, because he flashed and then he E'd as he jumped, and it allowed him to get the chase.
That is insane. It looked fantastic.
But he then threw his Q the wrong way, so...
We'll forgive that, okay? There is a shutdown kill onto Minitroupax. Didn't even see how that was set up. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to the mid-season Vitality as Minitroupax is taken down. A tower is secured in the bottom lane. Jacktroll is chopped down by WhiteKnight, and just as Vitality pick up an advantage, They throw a little bit of that away. Chrono Break not going to connect with Samux. He continues to run for his life. Jiizuke's got himself a needlessly large rod, leaning into that confident player we were anticipating. And for the cost of 2 kills, they get 2 towers. I still call worth.
Yes, I mean, so...
Yeah, it's tough. It's so tough.
Yes, it was worth for Vitality because they get another objective on the board. But they lost 2 Barons. They also lost a flash on their support. But also, like, that is just not a mistake that you should be making. I need to see the replay, see exactly how that was set up. But Jiizuke, here you go, the counter to Ekko, Baron minion. Oh, yes. No, sorry.
Banon minion.
Banon minion.
It's all right. It's all right. We got it. We got it. Got to see a lot of those Baron-empowered cannon minions last week. Vitality don't have the same tools to protect theirs, though. You know, they don't have... Well, the Jinx traps will actually help a lot. I take that back. I take that back. And we'll see how effectively they can. Another tower's going to fall, thanks to those Baron-empowered minions and the mid lane. I mean, this will be 6 towers all together. And Jiizuke goes all the way forward and all the way backwards with the use of that Chrono Break. Unicorns of Love are pushed all the way into their base now, Vedius. They're nearly 10,000 gold down. They've got no structures left to fall back to. And at 30 minutes, it's looking like the magical run will be coming to an end. We'll see how the siege continues to play out.
Well, Unicorns, they are a team that often doesn't give up, and they still have the ability to fight. They have been outscared a little bit, but we'll see if they can find that pick that they're looking for. I feel like an opportunity is arising for them.
Does indeed. Exile's got that Void Stop doing a lot of damage onto Vitality, but they can't kill a minion. The Banon Million Bob is wrecking Unicorn's base. Vitality use Baron buff. They use their gigantic gold lead, and Unicorns, they cannot initiate, so they lose their inhibitor completely uncontested.
Unicorns relying on the Azir wave clear to try and stall out, but that is one of the big advantages of the Banner of Command minion. It really does mitigate the stalling power that Azir has shown so many times throughout the regular season, and Vitality secure themselves that first inhib. Vitality looking very confident, utilizing their early lead very effectively, it feels.
It's really interesting. The first 15 minutes of the game was fairly slow build-up, and the last 15 has been really quite intense. And I actually have the standings of the EU LCS that I'd like to remind everybody of how close the league has been this spring split. There's the numbers on your screen. Team Vitality, 8 wins and 6 losses, tied for 3rd. Then tied for 6th, currently tied for a playoff spot as the Unicorns of Love. They're going to have to do something very magical to pull this game back, and even more magical if we swap to their strength of schedule. Their next 3 opponents, Fnatic, G2 Misfits.
Oof.
If Unicorns lose this game, they will need to win a lot more and hope for others to lose as well. They'll lose some control of their destiny. There's so many options that could happen. Basically, you have to win every game at this stage.
It's tough for the Unicorns of Love, and that's why Medic was able to make the claim that he did earlier on, make the statement that if the Unicorns could do it, then it really would be a big statement because of the names that they have to get through. But right now, they are struggling versus Vitality. They're at a 10,000 gold deficit. They are grouping up in the middle lane. Sion is in the bot, but does have the teleport. And for now, they're just hoping for Vitality to slip up.
Yeah, let's see if Unicorns can hold off the pressure. Super's only in the middle lane, so that's not the end of the world. A gigantic Baron power play for Vitality of 5,000 gold. And in terms of the itemization, ZZ Rod picked up for Cabochard to go along with his Banner of Command, Bloodthirster for Minitroupax to complement his Eye Edge, Rapid Fire Cannon, and Hurricane. No armor pen yet, but that's fine. He only needs to 2-shot Exile and win the game. And there we go. Where is Jiizuke? He's got himself the death cap. We'll look at him in a moment as Cabochard, I think his ult was interrupted. It was indeed. Teleport's coming down for Jiizuke. Cabochard is still alive! Jiizuke with a death cap will not get the kill. Cabochard from beyond the grave is trying to run down. Jiizuke, by the way, chrono breaks back to the top lane. This will allow Vitality break open the base, take down another inhibitor, and so many ultimates are available for Unicorns. Will they look for the fight? The Flame Chompers will dissuade a chase. And Vitality, despite losing Cabo, they will get the inhibitor.
That's how split pushing works. You lose one thing on one side, but you gain more on the other. Vitality with the 4-man unit, even with the cheeky chrono break there from Jiizuke, kept their 4-man roster, did not try to save their top laner too much, and were able to secure themselves another inhib. And Cabo, he's just trying to generate pressure. It doesn't matter if he falls as long as his team can capitalize. They were in arguably a bit of a poor position, but Cabo bought so much time for the rest of his team, and then Jiizuke even comes in and forces the summoner spell out from Exileh as well. Another best case scenario given the situation that Vitality will put in.
And that means Vitality just extend this lead. The mid inhibitor will be respawning fairly soon, and there is the Elder Dragon coming up next in a few minutes' time. But for Unicorns of Love, it's looking more and more desperate. For Vitality, this is going to set themselves up well. Looking forward, they're still playing for seeding. They're still playing for as high a placement as possible. And of course, they have to finish this game first. Samux not going to connect with the Mystic Shot. And I'm looking at the minimap. Somebody has to go to deal with those super minions. They're pushing into the Unicorns base, so Unicorns cannot stand here and 5-man strong for too long.
Look at the flank here from Jiizuke. It's something that UOL have to respect. He has so much burst damage, going for that extremely confident build. If he does get CC'd, he will die very quickly because of how squishy he is, but at the same time, if he gets on top of Samux and he gets that 3-hit passive off, that is a lot of damage that is going to befall the AD carry. Compare
the damage difference between Samux and Minitroupax. Samux has got the Muramana, Blade of the Rune King in a Triforce, versus Bloodthirster IH, Rapid Fire Cannon, Hurricane, and a Cutlass.
Yep.
That is a terrifying, terrifying Jinx.
I mean, Vitality have outscaled the Unicorns. They have a level advantage, they have more damage, which is why UOL are kind of relying on a throw here from Vitality. This is their game to lose. And with the Baron spawn, we know that sometimes has been a bit of an issue. So UOL still holding on to that avenue. They still have the Cho'Gath ultimate. They're just trying to clear out the waves and not concede too much pressure so they can still answer should the Baron kick off.
This just feels like Vitality from the beginning of the split. This feels like a confident Vitality, forward-playing Vitality. And they're going to set themselves up here for a Baron attempt. Unicorns aren't even anywhere near. There's no vision. Unicorns maybe looking for an initiation, but Cabochard can come up from behind. Teleports not available to Jiizuke. And Cabo actually...
Wait, where did that ult go?
He just did a drive-by across the lane.
Oh.
It was the ultimate zoning tool.
Right.
And
well, they got the Baron. That was the goal.
There we go. Secure the Baron uncontested. It was just a distraction method. And that's exactly what they wanted. Elder Dragon's up in a minute. They've got a lane of super minions to work with. They've got all sorts of buffs to play with. And Kold's going to take down the ZZ Rod as a tiny, tiny solace before what could be the final siege.
So now, UOL don't really have any other win conditions left. The Elder Drake isn't really one. Vitality don't even need to play around it. They have a big minion wave grouped up in the middle lane. The rest of them can group down bot. They can even send Jiizuke up to the top lane if they want to just walk those minions into the base. And it is, I'm going to say, near impossible for UOL to really come back from this game. It's simply a matter of time. It's always not a great thing to say as a caster, but you got to be real.
Yes. And Vitality have just been playing too well
true.
all game long. They've been in the right positions. They've picked the right fights. Yes, you can be critical and highlight a couple of individual positional mistakes. But let's see how these team fights play out. Minitroupax going to be significantly more scary. Rupture comes down as Vitality continue to push forward. WhiteKnight and Kold have been melted. The unstoppable onslaught comes in. Jiizuke coming in from the side. Parallel convergence goes down, and Jiizuke is not going to find the kill just yet. Continues to jump forward. The Time Winder tags Totoro. That will drop him thanks to the ignite of Jacktroll. And Samux and the rest of UOL running backwards. 5 versus 4 Baron-empowered minions. Jiizuke's got enough time to recall, chrono break back to the mid lane, and now Unicorns are left with only one Nexus turret remaining.
Unicorns, they were on a 5-game winning streak, and Vitality wanted to shut it down. Simply the Nexus stands in their way, and Vitality are looking to go 9-6.
There are too many minions to deal with. Minitroupax gets jumped on with the Cataclysm, and despite a lot of damage on the Cabochard, it's WhiteKnight that goes down. Vitality, stop the magic in its tracks and take down the Unicorns of Love.
Vitality certainly returning to form. Drafted themselves strong laners, mid, top, and bot. Gilius, not the most active of junglers, but his presence was known. He supported the laners that fell a little bit behind, but even then, he was in the right place at the right time. Loved the roam that we saw from Cabo down to the middle lane. And the moment they saw these small opportunities to force plays, they were able to execute upon them properly. They didn't take dumb team fights, they didn't take risky barons, and overall, Vitality had a great game.
The last 6 games, 1 win and 5 losses. They are now 2 wins and 5 losses, and may be the ones that break the hearts of the Unicorns of Love. Because, of course, stopping that 5-game win streak, stopping that claw back into playoffs, this just makes it so much more difficult. And if you look at Vitality's strength of schedule, they have Roccat, Splice, and then G2. So, middle of the table, people around them, people who are going to be competing for seeding. For Vitality, let's see if they can find some consistency in that good play.
But it's, for Vitality, a great thing for them to find this win now, because losing to someone so far below you in the standings can really hurt.
Yep.
But also, based on the history of the European LCS, getting that 9 wins often secures you that playoff spot. So right now, while they have not locked it in,
they're looking more likely.
They're looking good, based on past results of
exactly.
the LCS.
I mean, total number of wins now at 9 to the 6 losses. For you guys at home, it's time to jump onto Twitter and vote for who you think is the player of the game. Minitroupax, Gilius, or Jiizuke. Those are the 3 options that our analysts have selected. Remember, you have to log on to Twitter/LOL Esports, click on the vote, and of course, we will announce that just a little bit later. It's quite difficult because this was a fairly clean team game.
But people are just going to vote for Jiizuke because he bought Deathcap 3rd instead of Azonya's.
Well, the mid laners will. I'm an AD carry, and I think Minitroupax deserves it because I like the Jinx. So you guys at home, vote and don't take either of our advice. After the break, we will talk to Minitroupax before Dracos and Deficio take a look at the fall of Schalke 04, the star-filled roster's chances, and what they are of making playoffs. Do not go anywhere. And Jiizuke forced to use the ult defense.